All right, as your first task using Autodesk Fusion, um, we're going to build a puzzle piece. Let's open up Fusion and I'll show you which one we're going to do. So you can either double click on this, or what I've done on my computer is if you click on this and hold and drag it down, you can pin it to the taskbar. You can put it down there at the bottom so that it's always right down here, um, since we're going to use it a lot. And you can do a single click and it should open up eventually. There we go. These little things that they show at the beginning, they actually are things that people have made on Autodesk Inventor. It's a little beyond my ability, but experience level, we'll say. But yeah, I just feel like filling the space by talking. I hope you're doing all right these days. I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. So after a while, Autodesk here, Photodesk, if you put the F in front of it, will open up. There it is. Um, my files over here on the left, there's a lot more of them and so forth than what you probably have. Um, so I wouldn't, worry about it too much. But over here, if there isn't right now, probably not, but eventually, um, there will be a folder that I will share with you where you will put all the various things that you complete here so that I can check them. We're also going to upload them to Schoology as well, and I will show you how to do that here. So let's start with this. We don't really have to have this thing there right now. It's on the left, so let's go ahead and get rid of it. Hide the data panel by clicking this little thing right here, and it goes away. And we have our workspace here, um, ready for us to start a new design. So this is untitled. Why don't we go ahead and save it now before we start and give it a title. Um, so let's call this Practice Puzzle Piece 1. We'll do 2 or 3 of these together, and then I'll set you loose to do your own cube. For now, let's see. Folder you're going to save it in, probably just to put it in the master folder, I guess. Um, like I said, I will share eventually. You'll put it in whatever folder I share with you. I'm doing this in 2018-19 school year, so if it's future school years, hopefully I'll have my act together a little earlier and have a folder ready to go for you. But for now, I wouldn't worry too much about where we put it. All right. So the basic idea when we make a structure or what they call a body on Autodesk Fusion is you start with a two-dimensional sketch and then you extrude it or press pull it to make it give it thickness. So the piece that we're going to work on, I think, is going to look like, let's see. Yeah, let's make this one right here. So we're going to eventually, let me open it to show you, but obviously you won't have this to look at. But we're going to make this piece, and I'll even show you how to change the color of it and whatnot as well. We're going to make this modified C shape, so to speak. And we're probably going to look at a couple different ways to do it, as a matter of fact. Um, there are plenty of ways to do things in Autodesk Fusion, um, some of which I wouldn't even think of doing, but you may come across. I've had students in the past show me things that I hadn't seen before, different ways of doing things. So my way is not necessarily the only way, but it is, for now, as you go through, it's probably a good idea for you to do it the way I show you so that you get a feel for things. Notice I've opened this file. I have 2 tabs up here now. So this is the file I just opened to show you what we're going to make, and this is where we're actually going to make that shape. Now on yours, of course, you don't have these 2 tabs, but you'll have this one open ready to go. So first thing we do is, let's do this. So over here in the view cube, I prefer to do it this way. I would like this Z-axis to be the up and down axis, particularly when we cut things out on the CNC router or 3D print them even. We prefer to have the Z-axis be the up and down. So click on the face of the cube that says right. It'll turn and face right. And then you have these two arrow keys here. Click this one and we'll rotate it so that the Z-axis is up. And then click on this corner of the view cube. Edge, this would be an edge over here, like that would be an edge right there. This would be a face, so this is a corner. And click on that corner. Now what we can do is this. Let's call, I really don't want the front of my cube to be pointed up, so let's go back for a second actually, and let's click on that right face again. And then right click on the face so that that comes up. And we'll go down here where it says set current view as, we'll choose front. So that renames the various faces here so that this is now our front. And if we click on this corner up here, this is a really good view to look at things. So I want to make this my home view. So we're going to right click anywhere on the cube and say set current view as home and go ahead and choose fit to view. There it is. So every time I click home, it'll come here and put the object in the view. Okay, now we'll get started. So a lot of ways to do this. We're going to start with the sketch and we're going to create a sketch. And the first thing that'll pop up, pardon me, is we have a choice of which plane we want to put this on. So for example, this is our XZ plane over here on the left because the red represents the X-axis and the blue represents the Z, and that's the XZ plane. And in general, I would recommend starting on the XY plane. That's why I've oriented it this way so that this, the blue, is up. So I will click on that. And when you do, you are now looking at the XY plane. Notice you have the green axis here and the red here. They correspond to the green and red here. Now to make our shape, which looks like this, what we really want to do is make this, in fact, you see how that highlights right there. We want to make that shape and then extrude it or press pull it. There's a few different ways to do it. I think probably the simplest way is to use rectangles. So let's do that. So let's go to Sketch and then go down to Rectangle, and you'll notice if you hover over that, you have choices. We could do any number of things here, but we'll do we can do a 2-point rectangle, or we can do a center. Let's do a center rectangle. How about that? So a center rectangle, notice as I hover it, information about it comes up. So if I go over and I hover, wait long enough, the longer I wait, more stuff will come up for me. There it is. All right, it tells me what it does. But if I click on that, come to the origin, the center of this plane, notice it snaps to it. If you get close to it, a little box appears around it. Go ahead and click once. Now you've set the center of your rectangle, and notice now you can make a rectangle all kinds of things. Now what I like to do here is this. If I know my dimensions already for what I'm going to do, I would just go ahead and set those dimensions, type them in right now. You'll notice that one of those fields, the one on the left there, is blue. So for example, let's say I want that to be 0.75. So I go 0.75. Notice it sets that, and then I hit Tab, and it jumps to the other one. And I'll make that 2.25. And then I'll hit Enter. So there's my rectangle. It's 0.75 this way and 2.25 that way. If I suddenly realize, oh, I made a mistake, I could always go ahead and double click on either one of these and change them. You hit escape to get out of that. So this will say is the bottom. So for example, if I look at this, let me rotate around. So look at it this way. So what I've what I've just made is a rectangle that looks like is this part right here. Now from this corner over to here, up to about here, over along this line to here and down again. And then I'm going to add this little square and this rectangle here. And like I said, there's lots of ways to do this. In fact, I may even show you a couple in this video just so you can see the different ways. Now we're going to go ahead and add a couple rectangles to this. So let's do the rectangle, but let's do the 2-point. This is where the 2-point comes in handy. So click on the 2-point rectangle and say, let's go to this corner. And we'll click on that. Notice how it snaps to that corner, makes a little square. Click once, and then move up and to the left. If we do that, we can put in the dimensions for this piece. So this is also going to be 0.75, and then tab takes me to the other one, and I'm going to make it 1.5 inches. Hit enter. That looks pretty good. So what we've done is we've added on this piece, part of it right here. And then I need a little square right here that's 0.75 by 0.75. So we'll do the same thing. We'll go sketch, rectangle, do the 2-point, start at this corner, and put in our dimensions. So 0.75, tab, 0.75, and then hit enter. Now, we could go to extrude it and extrude it right now, but I might as well show you a little feature here. So one thing we can do here is we can make this, instead of 3 separate rectangles, we can eliminate these little boundaries between them. What we would use for that is if we go to sketch and you go down a little ways, you'll see something that says trim. And it will cut off pieces. So if I click trim, I come over, I get to here, notice that piece is red. So when I click on that, it'll go away. Now, if I go back to there, you notice it's red again. Well, that's because there's 2 lines there. One of them came from this square, and the other one came from this rectangle. So I'm going to take both of them out. So I click again. Now I've trimmed both. Notice there's no line there now. I come over and do the same thing over here. I click once, and then I'm going to click again. Now you'll notice I have one shape. Instead of 1, 2, 3 rectangles, I have one complete shape. When I've done that, I can hit stop sketch, and I'll go home, and there's my view of it. And then the last step for making it, we're going to change its color in a moment, show you how to do that. But to make it, we go over and and it'll light up, and you right click on it. And you have 2 choices here. They're really going to do the same thing. You can do extrude or press pull. They'll do the same thing. In the old computer program was only extrude. Fusion has this feature called press pull, but it really is the same thing for us at this point. So if let's do that again, I right click on it and I just click on press pull. This little arrow shows up and this little box. Now I know I could grab this arrow and move it however far I need to, but notice in this case it's going by tenths of an inch, 0.8, 0.7. I want 0.75. I want 3/4 of an inch. So since this is highlighted blue, if I just type on my keyboard 0.75, it'll do that. I hit OK, and there's the piece. And you can move it around a little bit. I like using the view cube. The other thing you can do is the scroll button that you use to zoom. If you push that down and hold it, you can translate or move, pan the thing back and forth to look at it. And if you push it down and hold it and hold down the shift key, that should, enable you to rotate it as well. But no matter what you do, if you go hit home, it'll take it right back to home again. So here's our shape. Now, when you go to do your puzzle cube, you're not going to want it to necessarily be gray. One of your pieces might be, but you're certainly going to want to be able to change their colors. So what I want you to do is over here, if you look at your browser, this is called your browser over here. Um, you can look at all kinds of things here. For example, you look at origin, this you could select, this is the very center of the entire thing. The x-axis, see the little blue line, y-axis. If you needed to select an axis or a plane, you could do that. But if you bring down bodies, notice this is the first, is the only body that we've made. So if I right click on that and I go to appearance, this pops up over here. And if I want to change the color, there's this little square here. If I right click on that and I click edit, I get all these possible colors that I could choose. And you could scroll it back and forth. What I would do is scroll this around, and so let's say I want to make it um, a shade of blue. So I would come into the blues or whatever, click on it, click in various places until I get a shade I like. That's cool. And hit done. So go ahead and change the color. When I go to grade this, I want to see it a different color than that gray. And don't make it just a lighter shade of gray. That'll just confuse me. So we do that. I hit close. And I hit save. Say a user. I'm not really sure. I guess we'll just go with user saved. I'm not really sure. I guess if we were making different changes at different times for whatever reason, we might want to give this a different name, but we'll just say okay. And we're ready to go. Now, when you go to submit this, I would recommend what I want you to do is, first of all, you'll save it to the folder in that I share with you over here. But for now, I want you to do this as well. We're going to do File, and we're going to go to Export. The name's fine. And we're going to export it as, I take that back. Wait, I take that back. All right, I cancel that. Mr. Wellborn thought he knew what he was doing. So let's do this. Click here. We're going to capture image. Agree with whatever it says here and hit OK. And this would probably be the most important part. Put your name in the file, just in case when you go to submit it gets confused. So put your last name. In the case of me, I'll put my last name. And I prefer for you to save it as a JPEG. Now, it says what I do is save to my computer. And for now, let's put it on the desktop. That's fine. Let's just see what our choices are here. You put it desktop or documents, wherever you will be able to locate it. We'll put it in documents, I guess. Although that looks a little crowded, we'll put it in desktop. We'll put it on the desktop. And then go into Schoology and upload or submit that picture to Schoology for now. And that's how I'll give you credit until such time as we get the folder up and running. Let's see if we can find that image. There it is. So it'll save it as this. So I'll know that you've done something for now. So there you go. We'll move on to the next one. Will be do a couple more, one or two more practices, and then you can do your own piece, your own puzzle pieces.